How is it going, everyone? Happy Friday. Happy Friday. Another Tesla Power Hour. Farzad's in the chat making fun of me because I told him I was going to take a nap after the stream that I had on his channel. Everyone go subscribe to Farzad's channel if you haven't already. Amazing content. But, folks, it is officially Power Hour. It is Friday, October 28th. The Twitter deal is done. Tesla is green, up 1.5%. Let's try to finish at let's set the bar at 5%. How about that? You know, keep the bar nice and low. We're up 1.5% right now. Let's see how high we can go. Let me know if my audio is coming in clear in the chat. Throw in the chat where you guys are tuning in from. City, state, country, whatever you guys feel comfortable sharing. So here's the thing. I sent Farzad a message. I said, look, I don't have StreamYard enabled today. I have Zoom. If you're willing to work with some potential technical difficulties, would love to get you on. Also, I feel like I unsubscribed to my Zoom paid plan. So I'm going to have to figure out. It's going to be a gong show, but maybe hold on, let's see here. I really wish I just did StreamYard. I don't know why I didn't do StreamYard. Okay, hold on. Let me read off some countries. All right, some city, state, countries, whatever it is. Audio's good. Okay, Honolulu, Sweden, Minnesota. Man, I'm jealous. If you're in Hawaii right now, I know Anne is from our Discord. Vern, how's it going? Michael, Scotland, London, UK, Connecticut, Norway, Baton Rouge. Have I said Louisiana's on my list to visit? Like, very much so. Like, it's high on the list. I really want to visit Louisiana. London, Liverpool. No worries, epigenetics. Mimi, how's it going? Atlanta. Woodinville, Washington. It's pretty close to me. Toronto, San Diego, Sweden, Missouri, Mars, Atlanta, Hong Kong, Vietnam, Groton, Maryland, Belgium, Wisconsin, Montreal, center of the world. Montreal's interesting, man. Montreal's a great city. I love Montreal. I've been there, but I feel too old for that city. I feel like it's too party central, and also I don't feel like je parle français petit peu, but not enough. Colorado, Maui, Mississippi, New Jersey, Bangalore. Wow, folks, we are worldwide today. Montreal, Sahamish, Washington, folks. And by the way, if you're watching on replay, if you're watching, like the majority of people will after their work hours or a random evening later, please leave in the comments where you guys are tuning in from. That's the people that are watching on replay. You are the reason why I have the chat pulled up on the side here. Yeah, I'll put it above my head here or something. You are the reason. Why is it purple? Who changed that? I'll try to fix it here. No worries. 228 sitting on Tesla. Hold on, let me just shrink this a little bit, I think. Actually, hold on. As you can tell, design is really one of my specialties that I bring to this space. I appreciate you guys tuning in. So it's a Friday. You guys can be anywhere, yet you guys are here tuning in with me. I'm going to try to pull up CNBC in case they talk Tesla. I'm going to talk about a little bit of macro, some Tesla news. Folks, can we just throw a W in the chat for the fact that Twitter is done? Thank God. This Twitter deal is over. And I saw someone on Twitter tag me and they're like, yeah, this is just the beginning. If you're worried about that, like just wait until Elon starts actually like doing stuff in Twitter, which I guess makes sense, but let's not go there. Hold on. Let me send you the link here. Actually, one sec. Invite. Okay, I'm going to try to see if I can get Farzad in the chat here in a getaway. All bets are off, to be honest, though, because it's not my usual tech stack. Okay, let me pull up CNBC. Let me scroll this. Great, let's pull that up. Let's put up audio.
500, and then the normal market cap weighted S&P 500.
Shut up. Okay, there we go. Welcome. Okay. Perfect. Twitter is delisted. Yes. Yes, a lot of W's in the chat for that, hey? You know what's so funny? Is everyone... It's okay. You can love Twitter, but also hate the fact what we went through for the last 6 months. And by the way, on Farzad's channel, I talked about this. Twitter, like the whole deal with Twitter, it really hasn't been that bad in terms of stock price reaction. Everyone that likes to complain about how Twitter did with in terms of their stock price reaction, I don't think is being honest, because Tesla's performance has actually been pretty awesome, despite the whole Twitter thing. It's actually outperformed what it should have been for a while. So hold on here. Let me try to see. Hold on, I'm gonna have to do some editing here on the fly. 1 second. Let's see if I can get this. The man, the myth, the legend, who is Farzad in the chat. I'm trying to crop his.
This is going to be interesting.
Oh. Can you guys hold on? Can you guys hear him? Hold on. Hopefully.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Hold on.
I declare a thumb war.
Okay, hold on.
5, 6, 7, 8.
Okay, hold on. Can you guys see him in the chat? Can you guys hear him?
Hey.
Okay, there he is. Okay, hopefully that pops through.
Hello.
And hopefully
I can see myself.
Awesome.
Nice. You did it.
Live
Look at
clear.
you, bro. My God.
It's,
You're like a tech wizard.
So I basically had to do like an OBS transfer with like a cropped out version. So it's gonna be the whole like quality might not be great, but it is what it is.
It's all good, dude.
Awesome.
It's all good. Thank you for inviting me in, bro. Yeah,
Oh,
sorry.
yeah.
I don't know how I missed your tweet because it said it was your DM because it said it was red, but I don't remember reading it.
You know what's funny?
What happened?
It's no, yeah, it's okay. I think I DM'd you right after you signed off, so you probably just didn't see it.
Maybe.
Hold on. And by the way, you're not going to be able to see me on Zoom, unfortunately. But folks,
It's
like,
okay.
is this correlation or is this causation? As soon as Farzad jumped on the Zoom chat here, let's look at Tesla stock price performance. I think since the Blueberry Gang came in, it's not been so hot here.
Dude,
any thoughts on that?
Listen, I should plug my Blueberry shirt, but I'm gonna keep that to myself because it's in the secret store. So
FarzadMesbahi.com. You can check out his merch. If you're a member of his patron, you can apparently get some Blueberry merch, which apparently
secret store.
Yeah, it's only a select few amount of people can actually see that sort of stuff. So you have to go become a member to his channel. Member, right?
But it's obvious that it's gone down because of me. I mean, obviously you can see this is Minute Candles right here.
Yes, Minute. Yeah.
So I joined about 3 minutes ago, 4 or 5 minutes ago. Yeah, literally. So there's people on Wall Street watching your YouTube channel. This is what that means. You are the primary source of all financial news for everyone in Wall Street. How does that make you feel?
I mean, it makes sense. I'm surprised it took so long. Right.
There you go.
So it is.
The confidence is real. What's
your thoughts on price action so far? I know I talked about the Twitter overhang and price reaction, but I don't think we actually heard what your thoughts were.
Yeah, I think from my end, what I find interesting is that the rest of the market is up sharply higher versus Tesla today, which I believe is probably in reaction to the GDP numbers that came out yesterday. Plus, we're a little bit of a bear market rally that we talked about during our earlier stream, which I agree with. I think it's in respects to Tesla. I do believe that it's I don't think it really does anything drastic until we get nearer to quarter 4, really finishing up in December, or a Gigafactory gets announced, or the the new model gets unveiled, or like say Troy Tesla comes out with like a 475,000 delivery number or something. Right. I think that guy gets looked at a lot by Wall Street. I do think he gets quite a bit of attention. Now, I don't think he can materially, it sets the stage. It sets the stage for a beat, which is really, really nice. Yeah, I haven't looked too much into it. I've been so focused on the Twitter stuff happening in the last couple of days that's really been taking a lot of my mind space, because I'm really trying to see how this sort of thing plays out for like me as a content creator now, and I'm trying to build something that's going to be valuable for people. I'm like, okay, how can I leverage Twitter now that Twitter, I believe, is going to be in much better hands, and there's going to be some innovative, cool things about it. So my head's been wrapped up in that quite a bit for the last couple of days. But for me, the Tesla stock price, I'm just happy that it's going up. I'm just happy that it's going up. Yeah. And if it ends up materially higher at the end of the quarter, great. I do think that list of catalysts that we went through in our live stream like I'm waiting for those things to start taking, forming sort of the momentum that we think it's going to have for the stock, especially in an environment where other companies like your Metas of the world, your Googles, so on and so forth, start becoming less and less likely to grow into next year. And, we talked about Tesla becoming potentially the new flight for safety. I'm wondering if that dynamic begins to start once Q4 gets posted and the very obvious path towards, $50 billion a year in net income, $100 billion in net income in the next 5 to 10 years, call it probably a lot more, starts coming to fruition. So it's just a very exciting time. There's a lot of really cool stuff happening in this universe that we're all part of. And it's starting to touch many different parts of culture. And, Tesla stock to me is starting to become like one part of that sort of growing cultural impact that Elon and his companies are having. And that's what I'm like super excited about personally. But that's a very long answer to your question. No, I apologize, but
don't apologize. Yeah. No, I mean we have a whole hour. So the
Good.
so the Twitter stuff. Okay, so it sounds like you're more like you're doubling down on this Twitter thing in an awesome way. With like, where do you see this? Like zoom out, bigger picture. Like how does this fit into the entire puzzle that is Elon and Tesla in your view?
Yeah, the one theme that we touched on was Elon seems to be very much for bringing power to the individual in some way, shape, or form. So the analogies I used was, the whole driving Twitter as a freedom of speech sort of like proponent, like something that's pro freedom of speech and trying to maximize that as much as possible within the bounds of the law. To me, the way I think about that is like, hey, we're trying to give the individual as much power as possible to influence debate, to influence conversation, to influence ideas. That's a positive. Then you have sort of this Tesla ecosystem that if you're solar power, battery plus your electric vehicle, theoretically, like you can be completely unplugged from the grid, and that gives a lot of power as an individual to be self-sustaining, right? Like allowing the individual to become self-sustaining. There's sort of a lot of individual power from that standpoint. Starlink is another one that I thought through after we ended our chat, is like Starlink is wants to serve the least served, so that you're giving power to people to enter the metaverse, the internet, this secondary layer of dimension thing that exists where we interact with each other in this secondary layer, and everybody has access to that. So for me, Twitter sort of falls within that confine. Is like, what is how is Twitter giving power to the people? So I think 5 to 10 years from now, that Twitter, I wouldn't be surprised if Twitter is the social media platform of planet Earth. I would not be surprised, because Elon has a track record of creating companies that are state of the art and best in industry. SpaceX is by far the leader. And it's like not even like if you thought Tesla had a lead, SpaceX is like 100 years ahead, it feels like, from like Boeing and all these other companies that are making rockets. And it's in multi dimensions too. Like it has satellites now, internet, and probably other things as well. And then Tesla is clearly the leader in electric vehicles. There is competition coming, but not from legacy automakers. There are newer startups, but it's still going to take some years to pan out. But Tesla is obviously the best in class for that product. So why wouldn't Twitter become that, right? So for both the consumer and the creator and we were talking about ads for a while, which Yashu, I must commend you, dude. Like the amount of knowledge you brought to our conversation was nuts. So I really appreciate you for taking the time, because it was really, really, truly valuable. It helped me understand that dynamic much better. So absolutely. Yeah, it's my pleasure. Twitter will, in my opinion, has a chance, based on previous track record of the leader, to become state of the art, best in class for creators, for consumers, and for business partners. What does that mean long term? Like from a mechanics standpoint, I'm not quite sure, but I'm envisioning things like, we touched again on it a little bit on the stream, was now the individual has a lot more power to market in much more innovative ways that are valuable to the consumer. And now you have these smaller folks that are able to become much bigger than they are now, because they can navigate through the complexities of advertising. You have consumers that are being exposed to things they never knew they wanted, and they have a platform that is very conducive to good conversation and consuming content, then you have creator tools that could make it very, very easy for, like, say, you or I to have a very awesome channel or whatever that means on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
It's just super exciting. Like, you have the best problem solver in the world solving for a social media platform that's trying to give everyone as much power and innovate ads. That seems like a very good place to be. Yeah. That's where I'm at.
It's a big problem. And well, not so, like, this is where I'm torn. It's like, today, is that a problem in terms of advertising and reach and entrepreneurship? I would argue probably not. It's better than ever. It's really been democratized, but is free speech a problem? And I guess that's the crux of the whole model. And I guess advertising weaves into that, because free speech only doesn't exist, you could argue, because of big brand names that can censor whatever they want based on the leverage that they have, right? So I guess we'll see. And since it seems like, and I think Elon's tweeted since we last chatted, Farzad, let me see if I can pull it up here for us.
Yes, let me see what he's got to say.
By the way, we totally got trolled with the fake actors.
No way.
Yeah, so the guy, the last guy's name was Ligma. So I mean, if that's not a dead giveaway.
Ligma.
So Elon's tweeted, Twitter will be forming a content moderation council with widely diverse viewpoints. No major content decisions or account reinstatements will happen before that council convenes. So that's the latest tweet that we got regarding
There's a reply to somebody too. There, like, that's newer.
Oh, he
if
said,
you
right. So why did you restore Kanye West? That one?
Yeah.
And he said, Ye's account was restored by Twitter before the acquisition. They didn't consult me. So, and I don't want to spend too much time on this Twitter thing, because, you know, I can't talk out of both sides of my mouth a little bit when I say I'm tired of talking about it, and then I continue to talk about it. But it's going to be, again, it's the same thing with Starlink, right? I mean, why does, like, do you think the Chinese government likes Starlink and the fact that you can one day just get this hub and connect to the internet? And
of course not.
Right? So, like, you're getting targets on your back. Twitter is going to definitely be one of those things where now media empires, let's say advertisers, people that have narratives to follow that won't be able to restrict, are going to be salty. But at the end of the day, consumers will really have to decide which platform they like. Like, Rumble exists today. I don't think it's widely used, but it does exist. So at the end of the day, let the free market decide in terms of what they like and what they don't like.
Yeah. The unwanted attention is not something that Elon, I feel like, shies from, though. You know, I feel like he almost, I don't know if he craves it. I don't think anybody craves like that sort of like target, but I think it's just driven by hard problems usually have a lot of targets on them. You know, that's why they're hard. Because you're dealing with a chorus of people that don't want you to do that thing because they somehow lose power or they somehow lose influence. You know, we live in a world where power, influence, money is still very much why people are in those situations. Like, you know, these leaders and folks that are doing these things, are they really doing it to better humanity, or are they doing it to better their circle? You know, it's a very human thing to do. It's a very human thing to do, to look after yourself and look after your own. But it's not a very human thing to do, I believe, to have everyone else's best interests in mind first. That seems kind of pipe dreamy. But the brilliance of somebody like Elon, which Hans brought up on our discussion, is that he's figured out how to align the humanity's well-being to something that is very attractive from a monetary perspective. So you can profit from caring about people and caring about humanity and caring about our survival and our protection. You know, Tesla's a perfect example of this. Like, a lot of people will roll their eyes like, oh my God, wow, you really put this within some insane context. But think about it. Like, you know, it's definitely going to be better for humanity long term if we have a clean grid that feeds power to electric vehicles. Of course, that's going to be better than gas cars. Of course, 1,000 times. But he sort of figured out how to take that and then make it super profitable so that a lot of people just naturally flock to it. So keeping humanity's best interest in mind from the standpoint of free speech and being able to have good dialogue seems like a very noble mission and a correct one, especially long term, because we all know how we can already see the cracks in the system from the craziness that's been happening in the world as of late. So it's like, what will Elon do to align that with Twitter being able to make a lot of money? That is really what Elon is really freaking good at. And I don't even know how he does it. Like, I don't know how he even identifies ways to make that happen. But to me, I think that's going to become the solution that he's trying to solve for. And the fact that he's private.
Yeah.
Now that the fact that the company's private, like, the opportunities are endless. Like, he doesn't have this governing body in the SEC and God knows what other governing bodies that, SOX compliance and all this stuff that you have to follow through to still be listed as a public company and not be fined hundreds of millions of dollars. You can do whatever you want. It's no different than me owning an escape room, a few years ago. Like he can do basically what I did, and I had free reign. I didn't have to report to any sort of like public companies. Of course, you can't do illegal stuff,
right?
But you don't have nearly as many things that can slow you down or prevent you from doing certain things, which I think is going to allow him and his teams to move incredibly fast towards that end goal, whatever that may be.
Look, you know what's funny? I one lesson I took away from Elon in this junction was he was prompted of something in like February via text. Court documents show, like, via text, he was like, someone sent him the message being like, hey, you should buy Twitter. And within a month, this guy dedicates like $44 billion worth of his resources or whatever he had to put down. Like, that's a big lesson I'm trying to take in business, is pivot faster, move faster, fail harder, fail faster though. And it's crazy to think that he was maybe he was thinking about it before, but I really don't think so. Someone prompted him, he's like, oh, that could actually be a pretty good idea. And within, like, we're talking like 6 to 8 months now, we're sitting here and we're talking about him owning Twitter. It's just interesting to see how his mind, it's on a different level in terms of business when we're talking about what Elon is doing. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Sure. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. It's mind blowing. Yeah. Shout out to Mr. N, by the way, in the comments.
Sorry, I don't have my comments pulled up.
It's all good. He's not saying anything that's productive. It's fine.
Oh, okay. No.
It's all good.
Hold on. Okay. So
free speech.
Right. 227.60 sitting on Tesla at the moment, up 1.1%. 61 million shares traded on the day, and average volume is about 73. So we're pretty much in line here with 35 minutes left here to go until the end of the closing day. As we sit here, we look at the NASDAQ. Let's pull up that for a second. The NASDAQ, whoa, what? The NASDAQ's up 3%? Was it up this much when we were on stream?
Damn.
I
nope.
Didn't think so.
Like 2 maybe?
So, and Apple's up 7.5%. I said this on Discord yesterday. I said when Apple was like down 3 or 4% last night, I said Apple's going to be green tomorrow, either pre-market or after hours. It's going to go green. Like, the report was good. And remember, Apple is quite literally probably buying back shares today on weakness. Like, that's their prerogative, right? And I talked about this morning, but I'll say it here for the chat again. Folks, I know a lot of people were not for the buybacks, but I'm telling you, there's a reason why Apple has outperformed and continues to outperform the market. It's because of the buybacks that they have. To my knowledge, I think the majority of buybacks done are on the open market. And when you have the prerogative to buy back shares on weekdays, you start to outperform the market over the long haul. So, and not to mention that you lower your average float out there as well. So $25 billion worth of buybacks was what they bought last quarter.
Crazy.
Right? That's just
crazy.
Nuts. Isn't that nuts?
Crazy. Absolutely nuts. Yeah, I mean, I think so. 25 billion, and how big of a company? The 2.2, right? $2.2 billion.
2.5
trillion.
2.5 as. I mean, it was 2.2 this morning, yes, but now it's 2.5. It's crazy, right?
Jeez, my God. So, but $25 billion, it's only 1% of their market cap valuation that they're buying back, right? So that's equivalent to what, 1%? That's theoretically returned to investor in value, right? Something like that. Is that a fair way of thinking about it?
I I guess maybe, yeah. I mean, I mostly look at what do they have in terms of cash and cash equivalents, and then just kind of like go from there. Their total current assets is about $135 billion. Or 135 billion dollars of current assets. So, that can be accounts receivable and stuff like that. But yeah, they have a lot of cash. Of course, I'm not advocating for Tesla to go and buy $25 billion worth of shares tomorrow. It's not going to happen. But
Yeah.
I mean, you got to be excited about the cash flow opportunities soon enough.
For sure. Can I ask you a question? So one of the very fascinating things reading through your chat, by the way, shout out Juju Gang, one of the best communities on YouTube. A lot of folks concerned about us even talking about Twitter because it's sort of like a like almost like a microcosm of what's happening with Elon taking on Twitter and how it's sort of like shifting attention away from Tesla, and people are invested in Tesla. It's a public company, and sort of like the world focusing on Twitter more nowadays is sort of like potentially a problem for Tesla. What do you think about that? I'm curious to get your opinion on that. Like, and again, we're talking about Twitter a little bit again, but I feel like this is such a fascinating dynamic that's playing out because it is what it is. The leader of the company has decided to embark on a different journey.
I think. Look, I think everyone loves the fact that it's over right now more than like the actual talking about Twitter for the time being, because I think this narrative had been drawn out for so long where it was like, oh, is he going to sell? Oh, what backers do we have? Oh, this person's tweeting about, this being a problem. Oh, the media is running with this narrative of, so there was like just so much like I called it a sideshow. It was so much of a sideshow going on with the logistics of the purchase and whether or not it was actually going to happen that I think so many people, myself included, and maybe my community, maybe the Juju Gang disagrees here. Let me know in the comments. But it just felt like kind of exhausted of hearing about the on and off again news of it, where like now that it's done, it's kind of like a hangover morning where like, you're just like, give me a couple of hours, right? Like just give me some sunglasses, get me some Advil. I need to stop talking about this thing for now. And yes, I'd probably wager a bet to say like in 3 months, everyone's going to want to talk about certain aspects of the Twitter business again. But I just think it's like, it's kind of like a exhausted feeling of like having to follow it every day that like now that it's over, it's like, oh, can we take a breath at least?
Yeah, it's so fascinating because I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum. I'm so excited. And of course, I'm never going to stop focusing on Tesla and what Tesla brings to the table. I think the fact that Tesla is a public company is really the huge dynamic. If Twitter was a public company, I don't think we would have this sort of like two different state of minds, which both, I mean, I love hearing about that side of the spectrum because it's like, okay, I get it. But like, I feel like if Twitter was a public company, I don't think a lot of folks would feel that way personally because people would be able to invest in that story. And then Tesla as a story is heavily driven by investors, by people that are able to put their money where their mouth is, sort of, right? Whereas Twitter now has become a private enterprise and nobody can sort of quote unquote bet on its future potential. And then that exhaustion kicks. It's like, well, I can't invest in it, so why should that be part of my mind, near term? And I don't want to put words in everyone's mind, obviously, like everyone's mouth here, but I do find it very fascinating how this has, like, Elon owning a private and a public company. It already exists with SpaceX and Tesla. So why is Twitter and Tesla any different?
Right.
And that's why it's fascinating to me. It's fascinating to me, the concern around that.
Well,
Yeah.
I think one aspect is that Elon founded both of those. I talk about SpaceX, boring. Like, they started from the ground up. Like, he's been involved as a founder, and so I'm trying to explain, I guess, the mentality behind it, right? So now people are looking at this Twitter thing. It's like, is he picking up baggage? Is, I think, the underlying worry, maybe sometimes people might have, is like, I hope Elon's not getting himself into this baggage scenario where now he has to like figure out all this shit when he really didn't need to put himself in this mess. So I think that's where that comes from. It may not be the correct mentality for it, but I think that's where it comes from. And also I should add, like, look, folks, if you're worried about anyone and their time management skills, it is not this guy. This guy knows how to outsource, how to delegate, how to put in systems, how to leverage resources. If anyone can do it, it is Elon. That's undisputable. I don't care if you hate Elon or if you don't. Like, This is undisputed. This guy, you don't need to worry about his time management. That's one of the biggest things I think we know about Elon. So in that respect, I am not worried about it. I think also there's a degree, by the way, Farzad, of like people saying, okay, this opens him up to like even more scrutiny for certain aspects of the deal or narratives in the future. And I guess when the stock is down, by the way, the whole stock market's down, but you know, specifically Tesla, when it is down, people have more bones to pick with Elon. I think that's just kind of the crux of it.
That's fair. Yeah. No, I just love it. Like I'm reading through the comments. Stop talking about Twitter.
Okay,
I respect it, man. Listen, I respect the people voicing their opinion like that. I love it. I love to hear it. I'm just of a different mental state, I guess, from that perspective. I think this is going to be much more game changing than in the much shorter term than I don't know. It's just going to be wild. It's going to impact Tesla in more ways than people think. You know, I really think so. I really think so.
What's the top way you think it'll affect Tesla specifically?
So it's going to be a platform where, and I've spoken about this on my channel before, very few people have access to a Tesla today. Very few people are able to drive a Tesla. Very few people have been in a Tesla, have seen a Tesla globally. Talk about 8 billion people, right? Twitter is now a platform where anyone who has internet access, theoretically, that is not in a country that has locked you out, like, I guess, China, Iran, North Korea, a couple other places, billions and billions of people on planet Earth could theoretically have access to Twitter. Okay. So you're going to have a lot of people that are going to have firsthand exposure to an Elon Musk company that they've never had experience before, and they're going to see the rate of improvement and the absolute separation that's going to make it's going to create between itself and its competition. And people are going to be like, holy shit, now I get it. And then Tesla and anything else that Elon decides to come up with is going to take a life of its own. So it's like an indirect marketing strategy that is proven through the product of and the service of Twitter, with the fact that it's available to anybody. I think that point is dramatically underappreciated.
So this will be the first touch point for a lot of people to Elon and Elon-led product. Interesting.
Exactly.
Interesting. Okay, I'm going to keep that in the back of my head as we think about Twitter, because I
could be wrong.
I didn't consider that.
I could be wrong, but I feel like to me is like a lot of people know the Elon lore and the Tesla lore, but very few people have actually been in it. They don't. It's hard to grasp exactly how game changing of a company Tesla is unless you are directly plugged into the story of the product and the mission and how it executes and how much better it is than every other company. Yeah, I think that's the true separation, Yeah. Yeah.
By the way, Tesla rallying on this news, 228.06 said on Tesla.
See, we should talk more about Twitter.
By the way, I'm running a poll. I'm saying, do you care about Twitter? Yes or no? And I'm running it right now. People are voting. It's really close, folks. Like, man, divided. It's 49-48. So, and yeah, the extra 2% is 3% is going to show results. But wow, I mean, like that's like, but like this is like the perfect case scenario for a content creator. When you have a 50-50 split on an issue, that's like the content that you should hit on, because you're going to get both sides of the people coming in to want to make their arguments. If it's a lopsided argument, no one really cares, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So let's talk Tesla. Let's talk specifically, let's say, end of the year, right? We know Q4 is upon us. We know it's going to be a heavy duty year. We know China price cuts have come in. There's a lot going on with Tesla in China. And I think the price cuts, by the way, let's get your take on price cuts, and then I'll go into my follow-up questions after that, I guess.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, price cuts were something that a lot of people obviously expected. It was, I think the biggest price cut was a $5,000 price cut on the Model Y long range, if I remember correctly, which puts it at, I think, slightly at or like slightly above or at where the prices were before the inflation sort of surge we had in the last year or so. So it's the prices have come down to quote unquote normal. It's just part of the process, you know. I don't think Tesla's really going to suffer much of a margin hit in China, to be completely honest. I think it's just part of one of the levers that Tesla pulled to maximize its production out of that factory. And a return to normalcy from a price perspective, what I hope really happens here in Q4, and we'll be able to see this in the earnings report, obviously, is that are they really just in the strategy now of passing on the savings, quote unquote savings that they're getting from the manufacturing process and their suppliers, or is it a demand issue? So if it's a demand issue, then the margins out of Q4 and Q1 should be softer than where they were at, or relatively speaking, versus Q3 because of the Berlin and Austin ramp. This is probably going to be easier to see in Q1 now that I kind of think through it. But I think Tesla's going to be in the mode now where any price decrease that they encounter is going to be sort of a marriage of, well, we feel like we've reached a nice balance of supply and demand. Let's go ahead and pull the lever and pass on the savings that we've accrued by charging people 40% margins. Let's pass those on and then get demand back to quote unquote normal levels. But in the next year or so, normal levels could be 4 million cars a year, 5 million cars a year. You're already half as big as the largest automaker that back in 2019, which was Toyota at 10 million. So all of a sudden, like that, in a year or two, you're already half the size of Toyota from a pure volume perspective. That's kind of insane to me, you know?
Yeah.
And you're not even taking into account what the cheaper model is going to do into the next few years. So I think it's going to sort of wrap this up. This price change thing in Q4 for China, to me, I think becomes a new trend moving forward for those countries that can afford to pass on those savings. But in the US, that's going to be basically impossible to do because you're going to have an EV tax credit that's going to completely, like, talk about stoking demand. It's going to be completely nuts.
Yeah.
And then in Europe, they just had a price change. It had a price increase, $1,500.
Yeah,
a couple days ago.
Yeah, talk to me about that. So what's the logic there if you're lowering prices in China, raising them in Europe, and Berlin's not fully ramped yet? Talk to me through that. Like, is that just, hey, if we're shipping these cars out,
Demand.
Right. So now you have like this like uneven demand surface across nations. How does over time does that balance, and you prevent people from just importing cars from, let's say, China into Europe themselves if it's that much of a discrepancy?
You have to really develop your localized production rate to match that region's demand. The problem is that because the product line is so new, it's still so new that it's hard to gauge what demand actually is. Only a fraction of the percentage of the total fleet of the world is electric. So for anybody to say, hey, this is what the demand profile looks like in an area right now is almost impossible. The assumption you have to make is that this is a technology that's clearly going to supplant the existing technology in gas cars, and we need to maximize our production everywhere, and then we'll have to figure out how to move those pieces around until we get to supply and demand equilibrium, which is going to take 20 years.
Yeah.
So it's just balls to the wall. Anywhere you can build a factory where you have the capacity to do it, you should do it. And and obviously that's what Tesla's doing. And that's what they sort of talked about, you know, hey, like we're maximizing our cash deployment of cash to try and move as fast as we humanly can. That's why we're doing buybacks, because we literally can't go any faster, because for every dollar we spend after this point is going to be wasted. It's going to be way less efficient. We're not going to get that one-to-one value that we get. That we're used to getting now. Our return of investment is going to be very, very bad. So that already tells me that, you know, they're doing everything they can to build the supply. It's just a matter of you have to go on the fly. You have to fly by the seat of your pants. This is not a stable sort of like MBA exercise where you can kind of look at the data and be like, ooh, it'd be better served if we open a factory in this area to try and even out demand. It's like, no, like you talk to everybody, and whoever gives you the green light to build a factory and you have the resources to do it without being wasteful, you turn that sucker on and you go. And I think that's been Tesla's strategy, and it will continue to be that.
Love it. Shout out to DJ Medusa for the $20 super chat. 600 people watching, 125 likes. Appreciate that. The math doesn't work. Yeah, I appreciate you guys liking, subscribing, do whatever you need to do. 157.
Like and subscribe.
And
otherwise, I'll show up to your house and talk about Twitter.
Mark Cat, thank you for the $4.20 Canadian dollar super chat. Appreciate that. Thank you, Mark.
Look at your poll.
50% care about Twitter, 44% do not care about Twitter. There you go. That's pretty close, man. I think that's probably the closest poll I've had, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's yeah. I mean, regardless.
Yeah.
So, by the way, back to your point about balls to the wall. I think that's gonna be kind of Tesla's motto for the next 5 years at least. I do think
Yeah.
post 8, 9, 10 million cars per year, there's going to have to be a different strategy at that point, in my opinion. And I think that strategy is going to involve insurance and the clear subsidization of your car cost, because insurance is so much cheap. Tesla insurance is so much cheaper than buying regular insurance, and you can incentivize more units sold past that level just by showing them the value of Tesla insurance. But, we talk about gigafactories everywhere. It seems like Canada is the next place for the next gigafactory. Do you agree with Canada being the next place for the next gigafactory? Some are saying UK. I don't know where kind of that news is coming from, but
I in my opinion, the northeast of North America makes the most sense.
Okay.
Because the population density of what's missing for Tesla to localize production is that region. They've already, quote unquote, addressed the lowest hanging fruit with China and Shanghai and Berlin and Austin. So what are the biggest markets for Tesla? You have the West Coast of the United States. You got sort of the South of the United States second,
like Florida,
call it, and then
Texas.
Florida's huge. Texas is pretty big, like Atlanta area, and then go over to the Northeast is kind of third because of the population density they have. Boston, New York, Philadelphia, all those cities. Chicago, Toronto, so Montreal. It makes so much sense to put a factory there and just localize production for that region. I think. I do think Canada is a good play. I really do think so because of the proximity that they have to the mines up there and the raw materials. I did a video on this a month and a half ago, and I did some research on like the mines and the suppliers that are available there. Not only do you have a lot of raw materials available, you also have Toyota and Honda. I believe those two are still operating factories from that region, from Ontario. I forget. It's like 30 miles. Sorry, like 50
Windsor,
kilometers. Away from the city center of Toronto. So you already have a lot of talent that you can draw from that region. So I believe it makes a lot of sense to do that. I also think Indonesia makes a lot of sense to try and diversify your portfolio in Asia Pacific instead of being so dependent on China in case something goes sour, which I don't think it will. But there is like half the world's population is in China, India, and that Asia Pacific area. Like it's pretty dense. There's a lot of people there.
Yeah.
Like at least 3 to 4 billion between India, China, Indonesia, Japan, and like those countries. So it makes sense to kind of build a second one there at some point. It's just a question of like, can people afford a Tesla, right? Like what percentage of the population can afford a Tesla? At least the current Teslas, the cheaper model completely changes that equation. So Canada, Indonesia, and then UK will be my sort of order.
Canada, Indonesia.
What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, Indonesia, I think we got some rumors. I'm not sure if that was ever confirmed or not. Maybe I think the Shanghai 2.0 kind of maybe killed some of that momentum. Canada makes sense not because I'm here, but because the currency, man. Like the big advantage you have in Canada is the salaries at an absolute level are not that different, but the currency power that you have as an American company in Canada is nuts. You immediately pay 38% or whatever it is less. 25% if you're going the other way, less. So it's I think Canada makes sense for that. And by the way, like human capital is pretty rich in that Montreal area. McGill's around there, top university, subjectively in Canada. So I think it makes sense. And then feeding the Northeast makes a lot of sense. One point I do want to bring up, and DJ brings a good point up here in the chat, says there's not a lot of solar to look forward to though. If you make a gigafactory in that kind of Northeast area, like
sure,
yeah, that makes sense. Like obviously in Florida, you're going to get so much more power from solar. So that's something to take into consideration as well, right?
Don't you have other natural energy sources though, like geothermal, hydro?
Yeah, I think
wind?
Montreal. Someone in the comment has to be from Montreal. Let me know. But I here in BC, 99% of our grid is hydro, and I think that might be the case in.
Wow.
Yeah, it might be the case in Montreal as well.
Is that Niagara Falls?
No, that's not Niagara Falls, but it. Well,
Okay.
I mean, like the
Sorry,
concept
that
is
was a
the
very
same.
ignorant question, but
Well,
because like, would you have a lot of losses to like push the power up there from there? Is it too far away? I guess. Is
no,
that the
dude,
yeah?
dude, that's so far. Like we're
Okay.
talking like Vancouver to Montreal is like,
Okay.
yeah, it's like New York to like Boise, Idaho, or something would be like the.
Oh yeah. What am I saying?
Yeah.
Why do you invite me on your streams, Josh? You're just gonna make me look like a moron.
No, yeah, I should ask you very specific Canadian questions, and yeah, I do that.
I'm gonna allow myself to make myself look like a moron.
No, don't worry. Sergio says no solar, but lots of PF Quebec power. What's PF? Don't know what PF is.
PS? Yeah, I don't know.
Oh yeah, okay. So Will says Quebec has lots of hydro as well. Too much, in fact. Yeah, okay. So it's hydro. So that makes more. So I guess that's clean, right? So in that respect, Tesla, because I think the last thing Tesla wants to do is go in a heavy, heavy coal grid area or something, and just face that kind of backlash with their new gigafactories around there. And I guess we're kind of seeing that with Berlin, right?
Yeah, but I think with Martin's sort of highlighting that value of death equation, I feel like making cars is gonna surpass sort of those like, well, we can't go here because of the coal. It's gonna be like, well, dude, like literally nobody's making cars because no one wants gas cars and there's not enough supply of electric cars. So let's just plonk those freaking factories wherever we can because we need to make them, right? So at some point, I think that equation sort of like, it becomes a very nice hit piece for the New York Times,
exactly.
But when you have a company that's generating billions, like tens and hundreds of billions of dollars of profit a year for a lot of their partners, and you have Twitter and all this stuff, like I feel like, okay, so you can run this hit piece, but it's not going to do anything.
Yeah.
I
agree.
It's just not.
Thank you, Larry, for the super chat. And a little burger. I think she means nothing burger, or he means nothing burger here. 1.28% up on the day, pretty much flat for our stream so far. By the way, 12 minutes left here until the end of the day for trading. So that means our weekly, I should get some jingle music for this, but that means our weekly Tesla closing price guessing game. Throw your guess in the chat. Remember, Price is Right rules. You have to be at or under to win the prize of virtual Juju, which I'll throw at you through the camera. Feel free to throw your guess in the chat. And of course, guests go first. So Farzad, what's your guess for Tesla closing price today?
I'm going to say 229.25.
229.25.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to throw that in the chat on your behalf. I'm going to guess, so high of day is 228.86. I mean, folks, we're only 80 cents away from high of day here. I didn't realize that. Pretty good close. I'm going to say 230 on the dot. You think we do that? 11 minutes?
Damn.
Yeah.
You're always so optimistic. I like it.
Honestly, I usually pick the one that's like easiest for me to remember because I have a terrible memory.
Fair enough.
Gonzalo's saying, everyone check your options if they're expiring. That's right. If you have any options expiring, feel free to check. I do not. An options order flow, which I do want to pull up here for the end of this stream here. Let me just pull this up. Remember, options order flow will give us some sort of indication, for better or for worse, how the market's looking like until next week. So let's take a look here. Let's pull that up. Not looking too hot. Still a negative momentum options flow to end the trading week. A lot of call selling actually happening today, which I guess makes sense. People that were betting on a big boom post Twitter acquisition probably were sitting on a lot of calls, and now they're like, okay, well, obviously this was a big fat nothing burger in terms of a catalyst. I got to sell my position. So not going into it too hot.
Interesting.
Okay. Do you look at options at all? Where's that?
I used to back in the day, and I got burned really bad, and then I swore them off just like margin. I learned my lesson. Yeah, I'm a big proponent for in my opinion, if you haven't been investing for at least 5 years, you should not touch options or margin. That's my opinion.
Margin
is it's because it's dangerous, dude.
Yeah, only margin with what you can cover, right? Like, oh, I don't have money in this account, but I could transfer it in if I needed to cover my margin. I agree. Yeah, I never advocate margin for sure.
I learned the hard way, dude. Like the whole math of, oh, if it goes down, if I lever my entire position 100% and the stock goes down 50%, I lose 100%. Like I learned that the hard way, and I didn't lose 100%, but I lost quite a bit early on. And I'm like, okay, this is no different than gambling to me. It's like I'm trying to like time the market. Like that's the way I view margins. Options, obviously, you're trying to. It's much unless you're going really far out, But margin for me being 100% in stock is me hedging myself against my stupid ability of trying to time the market, and that's why I never do any of those things, because those all have some sort of time variable that impacts you. So yeah.
So I think margin I agree with options is awesome, because options you can do anything. You can bet that nothing is going to happen and the time is going to pass. You can bet that the stock will exponentially rise. You can bet the opposite. Especially if you're selling premium with options, like it's a different story altogether. But yes, I totally agree with the sentiment that if you don't know what you're doing, stay away from options, especially because you might get exercised on stuff. You might sell stuff short or pardon me, naked. So it's just a lot of moving variables to talk about. And next Friday, I'm going to have Hans, a supporter of the channel, Patreon member, friend of the show for you as well, Farzad, on the Power Hour stream, because he wants to buy options, but he just doesn't know. He just wants to clarify a couple of things, and he's like, oh, it might be good content for me to like come on and buy my first options.
I love that.
So yeah, that'll be cool.
Such a good idea, dude. Such a good idea.
Not obviously not financial advice, but just go through.
Definitely financial advice. No, do everything he does.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely.
Oh, by the way, FOMC next week, folks. So if you don't know, I think that's November. Is it? Someone tell me in the chat. Is that Tuesday, Wednesday? I probably should know this, but by the way, today we got our inflation report out, and it came in pretty much as expected, if not under, in terms of core PCE. That was great news to see. Inflation not coming in. I'm going to check the chat here. Did the chat tell me when it is? Tuesday and Wednesday. Okay. So Tuesday and Wednesday, folks, that's going to be exciting, because it always is whenever the Fed members talk. But next week, I think, is really when I think you start to get a little bit more of the dovish sprinkle in comments in the FOMC commentary, because of this inflation report finally coming in as expected. Not a pivot. No, I don't think a pivot's on the horizon. Remember, I think the new pivot is a pause at this point. If there's a pause in the horizon, we want to hear it. And I think the market is like very, very closely trying to hear for a pause.
I feel like 50 basis points is a pivot at this point, dude. It's like they've been talking about like 1 point. I'm like, just make it less more. It's just less more.
Less more. I know exactly what you're saying. No, it's so ugly. Like, folks, like I don't know about you, Farzad, but I really feel like I feel like we're within the margin of error, if not past it already, of the Fed making a huge policy mistake. Instead of raising rates, just leave them where they're at, and they'll do the work they need to do instead of having to exponentially raise them here. So I think 75 basis point is what is maybe baked in for next week. I'd have to double check, but it's just nuts how fast these rates have gotten, and they're not letting them stay up here. They're just saying we're going to keep raising them. At a certain point, you just have to let time do its thing. And mortgage rates are over 7% on a 30-year amortized. This is nuts. This is absolutely nuts, I think. So
that's not good. I mean, I do remember the time when my parents bought their first house when we moved to the States. This was 2003-ish, 2004. I think the rate was like 5.8% or something.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's not that far away from that. But the thing is, technology versus 20 years ago, we've had a lot of deflationary forces that have been baked in, where the economy has transformed a lot. And at some point, you have to allow the economy to do its thing and stop. Like, when can we stop like pulling the strings using backwards looking data? Like, it's already weird enough that we have a select group of folks that are deciding how the economy should behave, but then you're using backwards looking data. Like, just do one weird thing. Where are you doing two weird things? You know,
It's
I agree with you.
look,
It's could potentially be dangerous for the economy.
the U.S.
100%.
The U.S. Federal Reserve officials sold all of their stocks here to avoid any conflict of interest. Folks, they absolutely timed the perfect
It's fucking
top.
crazy.
And as soon as we start to hear Fed members are like buying stocks again, right? That's when we know that we officially hit the bottom. Like,
how can Fed officials buy stock? How's that even allowed?
Because Farzad, come on, we want to incentivize people to come into the public sector and make money off the backs of private citizens. Like, this is where we're at. And I'm like, it's crazy that they sold the exact top. I remember when this was happening and everyone was joking about, okay, well, clearly you're timing the top here. It's the exact top, man.
This is crazy. Like, it blows my. I didn't even know this was a thing. They literally. So these same people. So Jerome Powell, our boy, our Fed chairman, he sold stock at the peak. Is that a correct statement?
Him and other officials were being investigated for, okay, what's up with the timing of you buying stuff? Like, it's getting a little bit sketch and people are starting to question.
It's insane.
And in the middle of that, they're like, fine, we'll sell. And then they liquidated right there.
That's insane. That's so crazy to me.
Yeah. So, folks, look, and by the way, I had this rant last week about the Fed members giving private banks speeches and stuff like that without pay. It's just, it doesn't make, like, I hate putting on my tinfoil hat and talking about this sort of stuff on our stream.
Please do.
It's just crazy. By the way, Martin asks, can you explain why the good GDP number was good for the market? Better economy means better employment, higher wages, higher inflation. I don't think the good GDP number was good, personally speaking. And this sounds crazy because, like, what kind of world do we live in? But a negative growth GDP number would have been better in my eyes. I think the market is up today mostly because of Apple, to be quite fair. And I think I don't think it necessarily has to do with the market so much. The PCE numbers were good too, so that helps. But in a perfect case scenario, and this sounds horrible, but the perfect case scenario, a negative GDP growth scenario with cooling inflation would have been way better. So
that's fair. I wish Elon could buy the Fed and fix it. That'd be nice.
Well, look,
how much is the Fed cost?
At least, well, how much do they have in reverse repos? I don't know, 3 trillion,
10 trillion or something.
Look, I've already said, like, I thought Peter Thiel was going to create the first private nation state.
Yeah,
maybe Elon does. Who knows? Like, maybe. Well, I guess that's what Mars is. What am I even saying? The question is, Farzad, for you, is there going to be a Federal Reserve on the planet Mars?
No way. It's all going to be decentralized, 100%. 100%. Yeah. Will we be alive for that? I don't know. I have no idea. Like, it might just be robots that have their own decentralized thing. What?
What's timeline on Mars in your eyes?
For it to have its own economy?
No, for someone to go on Mars.
Oh, like the first human on Mars?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, like 8 years max.
Gee, oh wow. Okay, I wouldn't have.
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah, max.
I would have doubled that, to be honest. But okay.
No way. First human on Mars, like first mission, manned mission to Mars. Yeah, 8 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like the optimism.
Yeah.
10 seconds left here. 228.50 sitting on Tesla.
Come on, baby. One more dollar.
Yeah, what was your guess again? 229 on the dot?
229.25.
There it is. 228.44 sitting on Tesla here. Someone just confirm if that's the right price. Oh no,
49.
52. 228.52. Stefan came pretty close. He guessed 228.40. Stephen Rawlinson guessed 44. So I think that's our winner so far. Steve C beat him. Everyone's a Steve today. 228.46. And that's our winner. Steve C, winner of Virtual Juju today. That was a quicker.
Wait, I forgot to put my price in here. Let me go ahead and put my price in. Here we go. All right. That's my guess.
Hold on. Actually, no. Robbie Rowe guessed 228.51. Snoopy Snoop,
damn.
both were a penny under. Peter was over. Hold on. Did anyone guess on the dot? I don't think so. Robbie Rowe's our winner today. Sorry, Robbie. I almost gave away your Virtual Juju prize.
Look at
Boom.
that.
Congrats. Well, end of the week. I'll give a big little elevator synopsis for the week. We're finishing the week with a green candle, starting the week at 203, closing the week at 228.52, evidently as high as 233 on the week. Roller coaster week. Thank God the Twitter stuff is done. It seems like next week we'll finally be able to open a new chapter with everything. Although with Tesla that never happens, and you just continue the last chapter and it gets extended. Any thoughts on the week as we close up the stream here?
Yeah, very eventful. A new era has begun on the internet. I feel like it really feels like that for me. I think the internet is going to be like pre-Elon buys Twitter and post-Elon buys Twitter. I think it's going to have a lot of long-term implications for a lot of things. And in respects to Tesla, I am very excited now that this Twitter saga is now beginning. Okay. A lot of people think it's just ended. It's just getting started, baby.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see how Tesla's core business and its obvious separation versus every other company in its industry is going to carry it through into the decade and allowing itself to speak for itself. Like, I don't know if you watch Hans Niemann from chess. He has this meme where he's like, the chess speaks for itself.
Okay.
I think Tesla is now entering a age where the results are going to speak for themselves. And that's what's going to take Tesla to new heights. So I'm very excited to see that. And I think it started today. So I'm excited to see how it plays out.
I like the positive narrative that you're putting on this, because evidently I'm a little bit too, not negative on it, but I'm just a little bit too apathetic on it. So I appreciate the positive spin that you bring to it. And
I'll be wrong, right, but I'm still going to say it.
It's not, and it's not even that I hate on Twitter. Like, anyone in the chat probably can agree. It's not like I hate, dude, I'm spending way too much time on Twitter all day, right? It's just that for a second I'm like, thank God it's over. This whole ordeal with the deal. Well, an awesome week nonetheless, up and down, and I'm sure next week will be much of the same. FOMC next week. That will be, folks, like next week, that is what is driving the markets, is the FOMC. Nothing else really matters. And remember, the commentary is really, really what matters here. So I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you having me on earlier this morning on your channel. Everyone go subscribe to Farzad's channel as well. And any parting thoughts?
I really like Kevin King's comment. Your channel's called Hit That Bid. Kevin King's like, hit that bird.
Oh yeah, there we go.
Hit that bird. I love it.
I should rebrand. What do you think?
You should. Dude, merch. Get it going.
Someone's going to make a compilation of all the times I've trashed on this news cycle with Twitter and just like throw it together. And then it's like,
I love
the new Yash is like rebranded into it.
Listen, we live in a new age where anybody can say whatever they want and there's no repercussions. Okay. So just say whatever you want. Who cares?
You heard it here.
I'm obviously being sarcastic, but no, seriously, thank you very much, dude. You do such good work. Your insight, like I told you, like at our stream, was incredibly helpful, and you're very talented and your community is incredible. Thank you all in the chat, even with those that disagreed with me and everybody who wanted me to shut up about Twitter. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for speaking your mind. That's how this should be. You're not going to hurt my feelings. We should just be able to talk to each other and freely express ourselves, right? So thank you all very much. Mwah. Love you. And thank you, Yashu. You have the best community, dude.
And remember,
really appreciate you.
Thanks so much for the kind words. And remember, it's Friday. So every Friday stream, I say, put away the technology this weekend. Go for a walk, go for a workout, go for a swim, go spend time with friends, family, do whatever you want. Don't do what Farzad's doing right now. And be well. Remember, prioritize your mental and physical health before anything else. Nothing else really matters if you don't have those two things. All right, guys, much love. Take care, everyone. Hit the subscribe button on the way out, and I'll catch you guys on Discord if you're a Patreon or channel member. Peace.
See y'all.